I'm Andrew Sherman. I'm a Texas transplant who has always been in pursuit of art as a career. I've played in bands, pursued an acting career in Hollywood, but I found it behind the lens of a camera here in Dallas, Texas. I was born in New York, I've lived in Chicago, Los Angeles, Austin, but I love Dallas. There's a magical artistic scene in Dallas that mostly goes unnoticed to the outside world. This podcast is focused on what makes it so special and the people who make it thrive artistically. If you don't live here, and even if you do, you might not have heard of them. This is the Dallas Famous Podcast. So who you gonna be? Who you gonna be when you're all grown? This week on the Dallas Famous Podcast, it's local guitar legend Jim Suhler. Besides having his own band, The Monkey Beat, Jim has been George Thorogood's guitarist since 1999, and that partnership has taken him around the world, playing some of the most amazing stages. We dive deep into his Dallas roots, his journey through blues and rock, and what it's like to share the stage with legends. Stick around after the interview to see Jim play Dallas by Johnny Winter. I know you're going to like it. Here it is. The Dallas Famous Podcast is supported by the Mullen & Mullen Music Project. The Music Project was created by Mullen & Mullen Injury Law Firm to champion the independent music scene in North Texas. Welcome back to the Dallas Famous Podcast. We're sitting at the Deep Ellum Community Center. I've got Jim Suhler here. He's a guitar player, third generation Dallasite, is that right? He plays in his band Monkey Beat, but he also plays with George Thorogood since 99, is that right?
1999.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming down today.
Thanks for having me.
It's funny, I think I mentioned this to you, but I've been friends with you on Facebook for a while. I don't know that we ever met. And it didn't even occur to me that you played with George until like 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. I just never looked at the profile. It's just that's interesting. We'll get to that story, I'm sure. But third generation Dallas. We're done Dallas Famous, so that's pretty cool. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Lakewood.
Okay.
My dad owned and operated Lakewood Jewelers for like 45 years, so he was over there after World War II until the mid-'90s. And so I knew that area intimately. And then in the mid-'70s, we moved to North Dallas, and I ended up going to Hillcrest High School, and then later Walden Preparatory School. And my dad grew up in Oak Cliff,
cool.
And his dad too. And my grandfather, my father's dad, was a commercial artist, and he did the initial Dr. Pepper 10, 2, and 4 logo.
Wow.
As well as the first Burleson's Honey, which was a local regional honey brand.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So I have some roots in this area. Not as deep as maybe some, but it's such a transient city, probably deeper than most.
Yeah. I'm sure I know third generation, but not offhand. And also my wife works for Dr. Pepper. So.
Nice.
Wild. So growing up here, like what was the early music influence for you? Like what was the first thing that was really catching your eye?
When I was a child, like we're talking like 5, 6 years old, I was really into KLIF, the Mighty 1190, which was probably one of the first top 40 format stations in the United States, formatted by Gordon McLendon. And so they played a wide array of music from R&B to rock and roll to just anything in between. And you could drive by the studio. It was just down Elm, coming just on the other side of the bridge on Elm Street in downtown, and you could look up at the control room and see the disc jockeys in the window. It's that kind of Flatiron-looking building down there. I guess they call it East Quarter now.
Right.
So, before I even had an instrument, that really opened my ears, and because it's like, wow, there's a big world out there. It's like, because you're in this confined little space, and you're going to school, and they're trying to shield you from certain things. But I wanted all that stuff.
Yeah. What were you listening to like on that time? What was on the station?
Probably the first thing that really caught my ear were the Beatles, just like a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I was pretty precocious because I was like buying those albums in first grade.
Wow.
Taking them to school for show and tell. And,
Okay.
Anything like that, like Paul Revere and the Raiders, Monkees would be kind of like bubblegum, pablum.
Yeah.
But still, I'm very fond of that era of music. Any top 40 stuff from the 60s I really still love to listen to. Mm-hmm. Brings the warm fuzzies back,
Right. I didn't grow up here. Was there like a Texas lean on that station, or just kind of like a national kind of like whatever was?
No, it was. It's not. The stations hadn't become, cornered by these conglomerates at that time. So it was pretty independent. There was KFJZ, KBOX. There was a lot of other ones at the time, but KLIF was my go-to destination. As far as I know, it was. He may have owned a few others. I don't really know what Mr. McClendon owned, but I seem to recall it was a few others that he had his hand in.
But do you remember? Was there? I mean, were they playing Texas? I guess it'd be country. There wasn't a lot of Texas rock yet.
They weren't playing. It was just like whatever would be pop hits of the time.
Right, okay.
But they would play Jimmy Reed, like R&B records too, as well as the Beatles or Gene Pitney or Freddie and the Dreamers or whoever it was that week, So that was my first exposure to that sort of thing.
Right. At what point were you like, I want to do this?
Well, I thought this would be cool, but I had no way to do it. And I tried to get my dad to buy me some drums, and he was like, no, not buying you drums. You make enough noise.
Right.
So later on, I was able to finagle a guitar out of him, but that was, 6 or 7 years later.
Okay.
So I was just a fan, and it really struck me. My mother died in the summer of 1967, right before I started first grade, and that was kind of like a place I went, music, where I wasn't like, grieving about that. It was something, it gave me something to look forward to and be excited and happy about.
Right, right.
So I still feel that way about it. It's carried me this far.
Yeah. So you got your first guitar. Like, were you going to lessons? Did you just kind of get the radio on and start jamming, or how did you start?
I got an electric guitar. We got one from some family friends that had been sitting in their attic. It was like an old 1965 Harmony electric guitar. I didn't even have an amp. So they bought me that, and I think I just stood in front of the mirror with it for a while, and then I got some lessons and got an acoustic guitar for the lessons, and I took maybe a year, 6 months of lessons from a student at SMU. Mm-hmm. And that would have been probably 1974.
Do you remember, I mean, it's a long time ago, these lessons, do you remember if you were like getting to play contemporary stuff, or was it kind of just basic, like,
Just rudimentary stuff.
Right, just getting you like associated with the instrument.
Yeah, and trying to show me how to play chords and,
right,
how to finger the chord or different ways to play the same chord.
Mm-hmm. Were you like immediately trying to do solo on your own? Like
No, at that point I was just happy to just chug along on the rhythm guitar if I was able to master it or at least approximate what I was hearing.
But so it's funny. So the guitar kind of just is what you got. Was that something you gravitated towards, or?
No, I wanted a guitar.
Okay.
Because about that time I started going to concerts. I would have gone a lot earlier, but there was only so much leash they would give me.
Sure.
So I remember, I think the first concert I saw was Jerry Jeff Walker at McFarland Auditorium. Probably would have been like 74, 75. When I was 13 or 14. Then the Doobie Brothers, Leonard Skinner, whoever was on FM radio at that time.
Sure.
Because I had moved away from AM. Like most people, things kind of went to FM early 70s.
Sure.
When rock became serious. And you'd have album cuts, and not everything was single driven.
Right. Was there a point where your taste for rock kind of shifted to blues or R&B?
Yeah, I liked rock or blues influenced music, like when I'd hear the Beatles or the Stones do it. But I just, didn't realize, it was just something old. I had no access to old 78s. It's not like it is now, where you can access anything. If it was an old record, it was done. It was history. It was seen as disposable. But then I started investigating, like, well, who's Jimmy Reed or who's T-Bone Walker? And this was a little later, start working my way back. But I got into groups like the Stones and ZZ Top and Johnny Winter, people like that, rootsy blues influence stuff. But I also liked the pop stuff as well, but as far as what I was playing, it was blues based, it just spoke to me more.
Right. Is that, I mean, I don't know if I have my timing right, but is that like around the time that like Stevie Ray and those guys like Bugs Henderson, are you seeing those guys? Are you contemporary with those guys?
Not yet. Bugs was older than Stevie and Jimmy a little bit. Stevie was like 5 years older than me.
Okay.
By the time I kind of got hip to all that, he was already in Austin.
Okay.
But
yeah.
I'd see the name like on marquees and in Buddy magazine. So
Right.
I didn't see him till his first album came out in '83.
Okay. So you guys were maybe feeding from the same thing, but not at the same time, basically.
Right. I mean, by like early '80s. I mean, I was listening to the blues stuff, but I liked some punk stuff too. I liked the Ramones and some of the early Clash. And I'd go see the Ramones a lot. And like I saw them at the Western place at Skillman and Abrams. I think it's a pool hall now, or if it's even there anymore. The building is gone. Which was a club. I think they'd been booked at the Agora. Probably didn't sell enough tickets, so they moved the show to a smaller venue. But that was '79.
Wow.
So I love the energy and the attitude from that stuff. But as far as playing that purely, I needed something a little more developed musically. It seemed a little more fashion driven. But I really dug the energy of it.
I mean, again, maybe I'm just because I have you here and you were there at that time. Like, was there a Texas blues thing before all that? Like, did that start at that point? Like,
oh yeah, I just I wasn't able to get into the clubs legally until probably '79, and but yeah, Bugs Henderson was playing. Freddie King was in town up until the late '76 when he died.
I realized that he was from here.
He was from Gilmer, Texas, and then moved to Chicago. And later on, I guess in the late '60s, he moved back to Dallas to headquarter based here because it was centrally located. He liked it here.
Yeah.
He lived out near off Lemon Avenue north of Mockingbird, I believe, near Love Field. And he was always up and down Lemon Avenue at the rock clubs like Mother Blues and stuff.
Oh, cool.
Sitting in, cutting everybody's head. I never saw him live because he died like 2 days before I turned 16.
Ah, okay.
So one of my great regrets.
What? Okay, so then how did you start? Like, I mean, I guess we're taking a little bit of a leap from your lessons, but how did you start like playing in bands? Like, what did that look like?
Usual high school stuff, playing whatever was on the radio. Was in a band called Mirage, which faded pretty quick, like a high school band. And our playlist was like, I think we did Sweet Jane by the Velvet Underground and like Aerosmith and Robin Trower and the Stones and that sort of thing.
Sure.
I just, would find guys to jam with and play at the talent show or something at school. In fact, I went to high school with Brad Hauser from New Bohemians.
Yeah.
And I used to always tell Brad this story when I would see him. I remember he was in a band called Threshold, and they played Come Sail Away by Styx at the talent show. And for the grand finale, Brad would run to the front of the stage and slide on his knees to the edge of the stage, downstage. Well, that particular time, the cable became unplugged. So when he hit the last note, it was like nothing. It was a great visual, and we got to laugh about that for a long time.
Yeah, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't get him in time. I have had Kenny in here,
and I knew Kenny since he was probably 9.
Yeah. Did you? I mean, did you go to college, or you just started playing right away?
I went to took some classes at Eastfield in Mesquite. But I was playing in bars at night, and then it just got to the point where I don't want to get up and go to class. But class consisted of music theory courses. I wasn't taking anything else, so I'm probably still enrolled over there because I never officially withdrew. That would have been like probably 81 or something.
Huh. At that point, you were making a living playing in bars and stuff?
I wasn't making much of a living, but I was playing in bars.
Okay.
I was doing any kind of odd job I could at the time.
Okay. When did it start to become a little more serious?
My high school girlfriend and I got married, had a baby, maybe not in that order. But then about late 85, early 86, we split up, got a divorce. And at that point, it was like I was 25. And like, man, I was at a literal crossroads in my life. You know, if I'm going to do this seriously, because I was just, you know, effing around a lot. I thought now's the time. So that was like January 86. And I had a lot of family in the Mississippi Delta. All my mother's family's from over there. And I was really into blues. I got a book by Robert Palmer called Deep Blues, not the musician. And there was a guy in Leland where my cousins lived named James Son Thomas. And I just drove over to that side of town on the other side of the tracks and just rolled down the window and started asking people where this guy lived. And it was like out of a casting call. It was a shotgun shack with newspaper glued on the walls, a gas furnace turned up on blast, like 115 degrees in there. Huh. But he was very nice and patient with me. We sat there and played for a while, and I kind of moved more. I don't want to play rock anymore. I'm going to play blues. So I was like 4 years, I was just doing that. And I kind of shunned the other stuff because rock had kind of got into hair metal and stuff at that time. And,
right.
And the blues just seemed more honest to me. It wasn't fashion driven. It seemed more like timeless music.
Sure, yeah. So I'm confused. You were in Mississippi, and you stayed there, or when did you come back?
No, it was just a family visit
I
for
gotcha.
Probably a week.
Okay. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm seeing that you played in bands, the Roadhogs, Overlord, Homewreckers, and you were kind of doing like Twilight and Theater Gallery. What was that scene like?
Well, we were playing Overlord was an original hard rock band, but we would play at Theater Gallery with there was a band called Western Alliance with Taz Bentley played drums. I remember he had a folding metal chair. He didn't use a drum throne. We thought we were amused by that.
Yeah,
but they were good and played at Twilight Room and with Loco Gringos and stuff like that. And I loved those guys.
Right on.
But they were always, people were pretty accepting. It was like anything goes here, whatever you want to do, which I liked.
Right. I mean, were you able to, back then, was it like a fan base, or you just kind of, everybody was just going to be out and you're just going to show up and have a crowd?
Well, both.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't doing big business. We were just trying to figure it out.
Right.
You're in the dark in the hallway,
Did you have you gotten to the point where you feel like you figured it out?
I figured out enough to get by, I suppose. I don't know that anybody ever figures it all out.
Yeah.
But you just trying to find your lane, and this is what I do, and I just try to do it. And
Right on. You also were hosting Radio Mojo on KNON for 3 years. Was that around that time, or was that later?
I think that ended around 89 or 90. Yeah, and that was like a 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. time slot. So, and I'd always stop at Henderson's Chicken at 4:30 in the morning and get fried chicken because they were open all night.
Huh? Were you like going from a gig to the radio show?
No, because it was on a Monday.
Oh, okay.
And I knew better, but I was like ruined for another. Tuesday I was ruined.
Yeah.
I mean, it was better then. Like I couldn't even imagine trying to do it now.
Oh God, no.
But that was fun. Great education,
Yeah, and it was like a blues show, or
yeah.
And
I was sort of a collector then, or at least I was trying to amass a good collection. I wouldn't say I was a collector,
right?
But at least I could discuss these things and not feel like I didn't know what I was talking about.
Right. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Let's get into it. Well, before we get into it, when did Monkey Beat start? Was that like something later? Was that something you had going on for a while?
I'll start with, I was with a band called the Homewreckers, and we just were playing around like Texas, and we would go over to play in Arkansas, Louisiana, up to Memphis. And I guess it would have been 1990. We went to Memphis and played at a place called Huey's on Madison, Midtown. And after the first set, somebody came up and said, "Hey, George Thorogood and his band are in the house." It turns out they were recording at Ardent Studios like 2 blocks away. And they were in there eating nachos and smoking cigars back when you could smoke in a bar. So I went over and introduced myself, and they were nice. And then we went back, played the second set, and George kept moving up toward the stage, toward me. And I'm like, man, he's really checking this out. He's really into this. And that was blowing my mind, you know?
Yeah.
Because you want somebody with some clout to pay attention to you. So he was going for it. And then he said, man, my producer, Terry Manning, would love you guys. I'm going to tell him about you. So that was, you know, we went our separate ways, and that was the end of it. So the band broke up. Fast forward a year. I had some money I was going to try to do an album, but I had no label. So I wanted a producer. So I thought, what about that guy George was telling me about? So I reached out to him in Memphis. I found him, which wasn't easy in those days to find somebody without the internet, if they weren't in a phone book or industry contacts, and sent him a demo. And like, to my shock, he said, yeah, I like this. I'll do it. So we did the record, still had no label. And during the recording, he developed a distribution deal for his vanity label, Lucky 7, through Rounder Records. So we had a label. And then through that, we had management through George Thorogood's manager with Mike Donahue, and we were put out on tour with George. We recorded the album in 92, came out early 93, and we went out and did quite a bit of touring with George, like 6 weeks across Canada, then which led to, you know, tours for my band overseas, going and playing festivals.
Wow.
First festival we did in Belgium, like Ray Charles was headlining.
Wow.
Bobby Blue Bland, Al Green, all these people were like, you know, my mind is blown. Ben Harper opened for us over there. But so, yeah, everything was happening real fast. And then our local following really increased. And I was playing down at Deep Ellum all the time. I did Dada, Trees. I played The Bone, Club Clearview, Prophet Bar, Theater Gallery. Yeah, I knew Jeff Lyles. I'd known Jeff since probably 82. You know.
Yeah.
We were about the same age. He's roughly a peer of mine. We were just kind of in different tribes at that point, you know.
Sure.
He was he had a wider range of stuff, punk and alternative and hip hop, world music. And you know, so Jeff was a good friend to me over the years and has treated me well.
Yeah, he's a good friend as well to me. He's a great dude.
And a great advocate for Dallas music and
Absolutely.
the scene here. So, yeah, props to Jeff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's cool. So you're touring, you're opening for George. You're basically, that deal kind of gave you like a name in the industry, right? I mean,
it was a foot in the door, yeah.
Yeah.
So we did a couple of records with Terry. He produced 2. The second one we did in Compass Point in Nassau, which was great. You know, Back in Black by AC/DC was recorded there, and Bob Marley had recorded there.
Wow.
You know, so that was pretty cool. And then we did a third record with Terry that Jim Gaines produced, and Jim had produced Santana and Stevie Ray Vaughan and a lot of roots rock stuff, and Steve Miller Journey, people like that. So then we did a greatest hits compilation, and then that sort of ran its course in around 2005 or 6, and then I found another label called Underworld, and have been working with them ever since.
Okay. What was the path for you to actually join George's band?
Well, they had a second guitar player in the 80s, and at some point that wasn't working out, so he was let go, and then they went without a second guitar player for, I don't know, probably 7 years or something, 8 years. And they were going to do a tour with Steve Miller, who lived in Dallas at one time and went to St. Mark's. I forgot to mention I went to St. Mark's for a couple of years. And he told George, like, we're going to be playing these sheds and amphitheaters. You need a second guitar player. So they reached out to me. You know, I was living in a garage apartment over near White Rock Lake. it was just like, thank you. You know?
Yeah.
Thanks for the celestial hand up.
Yeah. Yeah. What? So just because of those big venues, it just you needed more power in the band? Like
Yeah,
the second
just it
guitar
builds
player?
the sound out.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, and so I already knew the guys, and it wasn't a big adjustment for me to go and play with them or
Right. It
anything.
wasn't like an audition. They were just like, we know what you can do.
No, they would start playing, and I would play if something was wrong, and somebody would say something.
Right.
But I just tried to follow my instincts and
Right.
find a spot or a part.
So you were coming up like kind of just finding the void and filling it, or they were telling you what they wanted you to do?
Both.
Yeah. Okay.
Because there's certain things that I play that George doesn't, like stylistically.
Mm-hmm.
He uses 2 finger picks and a thumb pick, and he's kind of got this almost a banjo style thing with his right hand. He's not a flat picker. So anything like that would be remotely like British rock guitar sounding, Beck, Clapton, Page, that kind of thing, I would do that.
Interesting. And so, gosh, it must be a trip. I mean, like you probably get some pretty good gigs with with him. Like, what are some highlights of playing shows with him?
Well, playing in London at Shepherd's Bush Empire and looking over stage left, and Jeff Beck's watching me.
Huh.
Opening for Bob Dylan in Hollywood, meeting him.
Wow.
George, I don't know, George charmed him apparently because he was like positively giddy. He was giggling and smiling, and I was like, this is not like the guy I'd heard about. Just in a couple of stadium shows with AC/DC in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Pretty powerful.
Yeah.
Like huge crowds, like open for Neil Young and back over there. This was like one tour. That one tour in 2002 is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And those guys in AC/DC were just so nice and welcoming to us. Treated us so well, friendly. I'd come back and hang out with them and stuff backstage.
Wow.
Funny too.
Was there ever like a big act that was kind of like not so cool, or just like awkward, or?
There's some that probably weren't as welcoming as others. Sometimes they would be support acts too, like people that had some semblance of a name.
Right.
I really don't want to get into naming that stuff.
Sure.
Because I know it's going to blow back on me somehow.
Right. I mean, I would hope that these people be listening to this podcast, but I guess if you're on, they might be checking it out.
That guy, the singer from Jackal,
yeah,
was a real jerk.
Okay. Oh God, that's funny. So you're still touring. I mean, you guys have shows coming up. Mm-hmm. Is that your main focus at this point musically?
Yeah, I mean, it takes so much of my time just going out and going on the road is, that's a...
Like, what does that look like? Do you guys get together and warm up first for a few weeks, or you just kind of get together and hit the road, or?
Well, not this... I go out again on the 26th, but not this time because we just finished a tour like 3 weeks ago.
Oh,
but if
right.
we've been off for like 4 or 5 months or something, we'll
Okay.
get together for 3 days.
How many months of the year are you touring?
It varies. Like we're probably doing 75 shows this year.
Okay.
But everything seems to be more concentrated from like March through September.
Right. Okay. So it's still like a full-time gig, but like you have nice breaks in there. It's like a teacher schedule almost.
Something like that. It's nice to get out of a van, ride on a bus, and have a crew, and you're not doing everything. And,
right.
Because I've worn a lot of hats like that.
Yeah, I mean, like the joke with the younger musicians is like you're getting paid to move furniture, basically.
Pretty much. And, as you get older, it's like the wear and tear kind of adds up. And
Oh, yeah.
You still love standing there and playing. It's just all the other stuff that goes with it.
Sure. Yeah, I think about my rig in my 20s, and I don't think I could carry that around right now.
No. I mean, if somebody showed up with a small amp like when I was 21, we would have laughed at it.
Yeah.
Because you were pretty much, a lot of the clubs I played in at that time, you were judged by your PA or your amps.
Yeah, your gear.
Your gear, yeah, because we played a lot of the rock clubs in different bands I was in.
Sure, sure. How let's talk about the gear for a minute. How has your setup evolved over time? Has technology changed the way you do it, or are you kind of still true to when you were first starting out?
I try to. I mean, I'll adapt, and if it's going to be helpful without becoming problematic, or it's going to be technology, it's not going to change in 6 months that I have to like go back and relearn something.
Sure.
I'm still pretty much analog and tube amps and stuff.
Okay.
I don't like to use in-ear monitors.
Oh, interesting.
I just feel so detached and disconnected from everything.
I could see that.
I don't care. I mean, I can see the value of it for a singer. It just depends on what you're doing. But, you know, I know Robert Cray doesn't like them.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got some hearing loss, but it's actually not as bad as you might think. So
Yeah, interesting.
that was the type of person, you know, the people I looked up to then were, you know, the hard lifers.
Right.
You know,
Right.
those were the real punks, you know, like Little Walter or Keith Richards or somebody like that.
Yeah.
They weren't just playing dress up.
Right. They were living it.
Yeah.
I mean, how much at this point of the show is improvised? Is there anything that's kind of just in the fly?
With George, he likes to say it's freedom within structure.
Okay.
Because we have spaces for that.
Right.
But we're not going to take hard left turns, you know, like the Dead would do, or maybe the, you know, old Allman Brothers might do.
Sure.
You know, there were bands like Leonard Skinner that played the same thing every night. You know, it was just rehearsed because their skill set, they recognized they weren't great improvisers.
Sure.
So they wrote their solos and played them that way. But I also saw the value of like what the jam bands did. So I always tried to kind of straddle the fence on that.
Right. Well, I mean, I feel too like a blues background, like there's a lot of improvising in those solos. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, almost every blues band worth its salt is going to do that.
Right. Okay.
But if you're playing songs from records that people know, they kind of, because I don't know about you, but I would go see bands in the 70s, and like some bands could just jam and be great. Like whoever, Led Zeppelin or whoever back then, were great at extending stuff. And other bands like Aerosmith were so loaded they it didn't sound anything like the record. They were literally falling down on stage. Sure. I saw it, you know. And versus, you know, Skinner, at least they were tight. No matter how loaded they got, they stood there and played well.
Right.
You know, so I was paying attention to that, and I just tried to figure out what applied to whatever I was doing at any given time.
Right.
And just keep that in mind.
Right. Do you have like a philosophy about your playing, like flash versus like, you know, like you're saying now, like the substance is sort of more important to you, it sounds like. But I mean, is there like an etherical thought you have when you're approaching your playing?
I just try to find the spark and find something that sounds good to me, and I pay attention to see if that's something that's working, like in a room, you know. Writing's a different thing. You just try to find something that's inspiring to you, maybe that sounds familiar, but isn't, you know, you're not stealing something that is reminiscent of something else that you like. I would like, what is it about this I like, a song, and I would try to dissect it and then rebuild it, you know, and apply that to my circumstance.
Right. Also, apparently you've had music show up in films. Is that right?
Some trailers. Yeah,
right.
Which was like the Big Lebowski. There's a Blu-ray trailer for that, and some of my stuff was in it.
Huh. That's a great one to be a part of.
I didn't even know I was out on the tour watching, back when we'd watch DVDs in those days, and that trailer came on, and you know, it's like, because I had a guy that was in L.A. with his company X-Ray Dog that would license a lot of my stuff.
Okay.
So a lot of it's still used in commercials. I know some of it was used on it. Was there a Fox show named Lucifer?
There was, yeah.
Yeah, they would use a song I did called "Devil in Me."
Huh.
I heard it on the commercial. The movie Spun.
Yeah.
The trailer for that has some of my music.
That's cool. It's just
Wild Thornberries. I still haven't heard that one. I can't find it.
Oh yeah, that's
It was an old animated thing.
right, right. And then it's sort of different, but you recorded live at the Kessler. You did a whole live album there. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And why did you choose Kessler first of all?
Well, it's the best music venue in Dallas.
Okay.
And the room's great. The crowds are always off the hook.
Yeah.
I did another live album probably around the year 1999 at Blue Cat Blues, which is now gone, with a guitarist from Austin named Alan Haynes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah. And also, I'd like to mention, I'd be remiss if I didn't, filmmaker Mark Birnbaum, if you know Mark, did some PBS documentary called Larry versus Lockney, and I did the music for that.
Oh, cool.
The Independent Lens series.
Okay.
So I love that type of work, and if it ever came around again, I'd love to do some more.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're getting near the end here. When you started, it wasn't a thing, but now, like looking back, when someone says Texas blues, like what does that mean? What are they talking about?
Well, that's a good question, because that could be anything from Blind Lemon Jefferson or Little Son Jackson to, Gary Clark Jr.
Right, right.
I always felt more like an interpreter. I've heard Billy Gibbons say that. I'm an interpreter. I'm not a blues guy.
Okay.
I like a lot of other things, so I never saw the problem with, cherry picking what I like. I mean, that was kind of the idea, I thought. I never saw it as appropriation or anything. It was a genuine thing. Mm-hmm. But at the time, and now I think there's a different perspective on it for younger people, that it could be considered that. But, if I was going to do something to try to get rich, it wouldn't be blues.
Right.
Yeah. If I'm doing something, it's because I generally love it, and it's a tip of the hat, more or less.
Right. So I guess I don't know why I got it in my head that you're a blues player, but you're not just a blues player. You're a Texas guitar player. You got a lot of different sides to you. Yeah. Yeah.
Ask any blues fan in town; they'll tell you I'm a rock guitarist. And if you ask a rock fan that knows me, they'll say I'm a blues guitarist. Like Bugs Henderson was the same way. Just everything in the kitchen sink.
Yeah. 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 Are you thinking about doing another Monkey Beat album? Is there other George Thorogood recordings on the horizon?
I've been releasing some singles.
Okay.
In fact, I have another single called Fever Dream that's going to come out in a couple of months.
Excellent.
And it's just easier to do singles, and I'm not really touring right now. So to do an album is such an undertaking financially and time-wise. I probably won't do that until George decides he doesn't want to play anymore, and I can go do something full scale.
Right.
Because it's otherwise I want to make it count. I don't want to just keep putting something out just to have something out. It's got to have some resonance with me.
Sure. I mean, is that something you think about? Like, are you like, I want George to play forever, but eventually he's going to stop?
Yeah, that day will come, and that's fine. I've had a great run, and I'm full of gratitude for everything. But yeah, I think about that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Where I am, where I'm going, where I've been. There's a lot. You have to assess things.
Sure.
As if you're doing something creatively. But I did it for when nobody was paying attention or listening, and I'll always do it in some degree.
Right. Is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you wanted to bring up or talk about? I'm
just glad I grew up here, because there's so much we didn't touch on, but I am what I am in spite of this place and because of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's not like Austin, where it's like super arts friendly. It's Dallas as an image is we tear things down. It's all about money. It's all flash over substance. Mm-hmm. So, but there's a lot that's not that here, and I think that doesn't get enough attention.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's kind of what we're doing here. Is trying to let people know. Thank you so much for coming. Stick around. We're gonna reset and do a song.
Yeah.
And I think not sure if this is coming out before Wildflower Festival, but you and George are playing at that. And just look out for the music and for maybe some shows.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yep.
Sharpen up my knife. Some redneck messing with me, man. I'm bound to take his life. Right back to Dallas. Take my razor and my gun. People looking for trouble. Man, I'm sure gonna give them some.
I'd like to thank Jim Suhler for joining me today. You can check out his music in the links. Thank you to the Deep Ellum Community Center for letting us record here. Theme song Unstoppable by Salim Nirala, and the outro is The Place to Be by Electric Ants. Thanks again to the Mullen & Mullen Music Project for their support. Like, subscribe, and share the podcast, and we'll see you next week.